And the game of the year is
And the award goes to
Baldur's Gate 3.
Neil Newbon.
Sir, perhaps a new hunting ground. Light the fires. The great hunt begins.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was nominated for 7 awards. It left the event with 0. The fans were disappointed, the developers were disappointed, I was disappointed. And it wasn't fair at all. Suddenly, falling from the cliff of hype, Spider-Man 2 became an underrated game overnight. People forgot about it. YouTube, TikTok, etc. were flooded with Spider-Man 2, now left it alone. So here I am to review the game once more. I'm reviewing Spider-Man 2 after the hype. The video is broken into 2 parts. 1 being the story and characters, etc. And 2 being the conclusion, where I discuss my review on the game. Part 1. Story. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 starts off 10 months after the events of Miles Morales, and 36 months after the events of Spider-Man 1, leaving them somewhere in the year 2021. In the opening scenes, we are introduced to the new and not improved Miles Morales. Trust me, the haircut is trash. With him is Haley, his romantic interest, who is introduced during Miles Morales and is a deaf and mute girl, I think. And finally, with Miles is Genki, his best friend, eyes in the sky. Peter is also back, this time with a massive glow up. And as a teacher for maybe 2 weeks max, before Spider-Man gets him fired again. We learn Sandman is back, though it is the first time we face him, and oh boy does this fight take a while. From fighting a giant sand version of him, to mini clones, to the giant version again 3 times. The Sandman fight takes a while to complete and sets us up for a later set of side quests, unlocking sand crystals, as well as hinting at a future group of villains. With this fight still happening, we also learn a new feature that changes movement in this game like no other, allowing Spider-Man to glide across bodies of water and the city at crazy speeds. The Spidey wings are arguably the best traversal thing any game has ever introduced. We then meet MJ, and oh mama, she is so much better now. Rest in peace to Aunt May, but I appreciate the free house in New York. And after some boring dialogue, we get introduced to Harry Osborn, best friend of Peter and MJ, and someone who was teased for 2 straight games. But nonetheless, the character is a W all the way around. The acting, performance, the character design, everything. We bike with him for some nostalgic flashbacks and even get to play as young Peter breaking into the school. Soon at the end, Harry offers a job and we accept. A new job working at the foundation Harry starts, Emily May Foundation. Moving on, Peter and Miles go to be security for some raft inmate transfers, shockingly being the transfer of Scorpion and Martin Lee. Of course it doesn't go well, and we face the Hunters for the first time. Fight goes well until Kraven pulls up for the first time, finally beating us and taking Martin Lee from Miles. Some side missions, such as Hunter bases, basically Fisk hideouts, are discovered, and now are available across New York. After an easy fight, we see Kraven kill the Scorpion off, leaving Peter with basically no enemies alive, as Kraven is just on a hunt for villains and targets. Miles helps Black Cat. She's a wizard now, as we help her run off to Paris with her girlfriend. Of course, you have to have a little fun as Miles as well, Perhaps try a new ride, something a little mysterious. I'm sorry for that. Well, just like that, a new side mission is unlocked. The Mysterio side mission is pretty boring. It consists of fighting, music, DJing, and more fighting. It gets really repetitive after a while, but the missions are now available across New York. Miles gets tired of the ride, leaves with the gang, and the game transitions right over to Peter, Harry, and MJ, who are also in the arcade, I guess? What do you even call those playgrounds? Having the time of their lives. This is one of the best parts of Spider-Man 2, fully allowing us to enjoy the regular human life as well, playing arcade games, and even having a romantic cinematic masterpiece between the best written couple I've ever seen. But with most stories in Spider-Man, it never goes well. The Hunters attack a now retired Tombstone, and so we fight our way out of it. While saving the people, Peter gets hurt and nearly dies until Venom saves him. Yeah, if you couldn't guess already, Harry Osborn is Agent Venom for now. Another side mission unlocked shortly after, the Flame. A cult surrounding the idea of arson takes over New York, and with the help of Yuri, no, not the actor, this one, I guess is just his wife in real life. But the detective turned vigilante after the previous game DLC is now a sick character. Really, they built Yuri to peak vigilante characterism. Forgot to record this part, but we freed the Tombstone with the help of Harry, and somehow MJ found out Dr. Connors was kidnapped. She goes to save him, and suddenly the game turns into Last of Us. While everyone remembers the horrendous MJ missions from the first game, Spider-Man 2 improves her heavily, making her mission so much more fun, actually turning her into an enjoyable, or maybe even the most enjoyable character in the game to play as. Apart from Spider-Man. She moves around the Hunter base, getting keys and a code to eventually free Dr. Connors, just as Kraven appears. He injects Connors with the lizard serum. Peter and Harry pull up. A fight goes down, and Peter actually loses. But the game doesn't get more emotional than this amazing cinematic scene. Just enjoy it for now.
Don't. We're almost. Pete, talk to me. Almost there. Hang on. Hang on. Get up. Harry!
Pete?
Please stay with us.
Come on. Pete, come on, this is nothing. Remember in 5th grade when you... No. No. You gotta stay awake, buddy.
Pete!
No!
Yes, Peter turns into symbiote Spider-Man, giving him immense strength, healing, speed, and nerfs Harry into a sick blob of a human. He might as well turn into Paul Atreides' kid in the books. We sneak into a club filled with hunters, trying to find some clues and eventually feed a tiger? Well, that's just Kraven's bodyguard. He's chill like that. As usual, it doesn't work out, and we smoke everyone there. For the record, in case anyone made it this far, I'm playing on ultimate difficulty with New Game Plus on to make this game more fun for me to film and for me to unlock some new suits. We take the antidote we came to the club for in the first place. Of course it wasn't there, but a quick trip to church and a meeting with Craven, we get what we wanted. We go back to Emily May Research Center and turn into the fucking Flash as we move in a particle accelerator. The hunters with a bigger army than ISIS attack, burn and destroy the entire building. We have to fight all of them and even fight a bear this time. At least we give everything to Harry as Spidey leaves for the day. We turn into Miles, go visit his dad's grave. R.I.P. Jefferson Morales was peak. And then switch back into Peter right after to go investigate Dr. Connor's home. We find nothing before the game makes us become Golden Hour and play the piano until we unlock Connor's secret lab, where if you couldn't guess, we find nothing more but more hunters. We stop Miles from getting some play, make him fight more hunters, and then chase Genki like he's a bird. Oh, wait, he was. We meet Peter before the lizard attacks, and then we go back on the chase. Of course, more hunters follow. We lost the lizard this time, but don't worry, we know where he is. Enter Oscorp Underground Lab. We go, find some clues, and the villain jumps us from the back, and boom, time to fight. With this being the second boss fight of the game, I didn't think it would be hard, but god damn. I'm playing a New Game Plus and I still died multiple times. The boss fights in this game are amazing and way better than Spider-Man 1 in every way possible. Firstly, we have health bars, unblockable and blockable symbols, and finally, just hard as hell fights. The combat, the movement, the graphics, everything is better in the fighting in this game. 2 fights in, a whole city chase, and more encounters with the hunters later on. We save Dr. Connors and leave him in the lab after he advises us to destroy Venom. Joining Harry's team at Emily May Foundation gives us another set of pretty enjoyable side missions, including different types of experiments across the city. ISIS, I meant the hunters, find Peter's house somehow, and MJ takes us back to Last of Us, where she goes on a kill streak with just a taser. If you were wondering where Peter was, well, he's busy with 19 inches of Venom taking over his mind. Yeah, Peter goes on an actual horror kill streak, and the game takes a huge turn from this point on. Trying to find him again, MJ goes super stealth, and once again, the game showcases its variety of missions and plot, making it so much more fun than it would have been with just Spider-Man. We call Miles and switch over to him as we catch up to Peter now. If you couldn't tell already, the game just took a way darker turn, truly showing the symbiote's power to take over the user's mind. Through a bunch of fighting and MJ becoming a model for Harley Davidson, MJ forces Miles to keep her and Peter locked away in the tunnel. In the meantime, Miles fights with more hunters, eventually saving a civilian until that turns out to be a op. Securing Miles for Big Daddy Craven. While this is happening, Peter is somehow making the game into a horror film. And no matter how much MJ convinces him, it ends with this set of scenes.
MJ.
Another day, another dollar. We visit Rio Morales,
All Miles talks
and
about is how to be a
whew,
better Spider-Man.
she's still good looking.
School, not his
And then
friends.
switch over to Miles as he wakes up in Doom Eternal? Elden Ring? Nah, it's just Craven's crib. We fight our way through it, and honestly, this whole part is peak. The way Miles fights through all of this just to walk through the door and boom, Martin Lee. Yes, Craven set us up in the Coliseum to fight till death like we're gladiators. We smoke the lead path until he uses a cheat code and gets in our head. This fight is honestly amazing. with variety of combat and finally getting that taste of revenge Miles has been waiting for on Lee. As I said before, Lee gets in our head, yaps for a bit as we fight him in our head until he can truly crack Miles down to the core. And then, after he does all that, they finally reach a stalemate where Miles understands what he has to do. He blast packs Lee into the air and teleports him into New York essentially. We switch over to Peter as he sees Lee's sign in the sky. Through a quick chat, we find Kraven's lair and get straight into it. This fight is hard. Multiple health bars, dogs, stealth attacks, etc. But I couldn't show you anything since I forgot to fucking record it. Anyways, right now what you're seeing what you're seeing is combat and fight scenes from other YouTubers. Thanks to Boss Fight Database for this. Truly. Shortly after, Miles fights us to take off the symbiote. And let me tell you, this is probably the best fight in the entire game. It's emotional, it's action-packed, and a cinematic masterpiece. Shortly later, we head to Oscorp. As I said before, it's a cinematic masterpiece. The combat, the sheer emotion you feel, the rush of energy you get by just knowing you're fighting Peter now is insane. The only down part I have about this game and this combat in specific, this fight specifically, is how they rush and they push Miles to becoming the strongest person. It's sort of like Naruto, where, as you can see, Boruto taking the leap into the strongest character, which is just a shit thing to do. Spidey has the symbiote. He should not be stopped that easily, but he is, and that's one thing I feel is bad about this game. Shortly later, we head to Oscorp, where we meet up with Harry to try and explain the symbiote's power, but unfortunately that little blob of trash has gotten ruthless and gotten desperate. He gets the symbiote somehow, and this time turning into Venom. And then, the coolest part of the game, we get to fight as Venom. We smoke all of Oscorp, a bunch of hunters, until we get a Kraven versus Venom fight. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's a whole new experience that I wish the previous game had. But it's so perfect, giving this experience to the players. The only down part about the Venom play part is that it's really repetitive. He only has 2 special moves and is weaker than MJ. I mean, the amount of times I've died to Kraven was so boring. I wish they gave him unlimited health and truly showed Venom's strength. Insomniac could have definitely made this part more fun, but props to them for even bringing this idea to life. And for Kraven, well, this is the end of his story as Insomniac rushes the shit out of it, and Venom gives him some of his 18 inches in a way I can't show. After this, the game turns very repetitive. Peter and Miles just fight symbiote soldiers, save a couple people, fight symbiote soldiers, you get the point. Until we have to rush home for something special. Yup. Venom and MJ go at it, turning her into Scream after 19 inches of Venom takes over. And turning Spidey fanfic writers into Niagara Falls. The actual Scream fight is really cool. From the dialogue to the 3 fights we have to do, it's difficult. The combat is new, it's fresh, and it's just so emotional, it's amazing. Though it may not seem difficult, it was, because I'm on New Game Plus. But for new users like me before, this game was really hard. But we eventually beat it, and we get MJ back. We get a call from Connors that we may still have a part of the symbiote inside of us. Yeah, Venom is that much of a dog. Don't worry though, just a quick help with Miles and Lee going inside of Peter's mind, Lee giving all his power away to us, we become anti-Venom. Let me tell you, the sequences to this part are amazing. The cinematic scenes that we see through Miles and Lee's perspective is perfect. And other than this one part, the entire Act 3 was dog water. Another round of repetitive, useless fighting later. The trio of Miles, Peter, and MJ create a plan to steal the Venom Rock and destroy all connection they have, to eventually save the city from what is described as a Spidey threat, but is probably a Fantastic Four and Avengers threat, man. Damn. As MJ rides into the cave, I forgot to start a new recording, leaving us with no fucking clips of anything that happens later. Thanks to Boss Fight Database again for this fight scene, we get peak after peak after peak. We get to play as MJ in the cave, taking the crystal, fighting symbiotes, even getting our own boss fight with the arguably the hardest villain of all time. This symbiote right here. Other than that, we then also get to play as Spidey and fight Venom. Now this fight is amazing. It's so fun, but it's so repetitive. And I'm being really honest with you. They gave us 3 separate fights, but you could probably beat Venom in one fight and then just know every other move now. Same with the Miles versus Venom fight, which comes a little later after Harry throws Peter into the fucking ground. Miles just has to do a catch and throw the entire fight and rep out the abilities. This game gets way too easy when you max your character out. Eventually though, we reach the end of Spider-Man 2. We defeat Harry, destroy the crystal, and leave Harry on life support as his father, Norman, saved him. And like that, Peter retires into the sunset with MJ. Miles is left alone to protect the city by himself as the game ends beautifully. Part 2. Conclusion. For this part, I want to leave a quick review on the game. Yes, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is a good game, since the game has amazing graphics for the most part, excluding the Venom parts with the bad fog taking over the screen. I don't know what it was, but it was super irritating. Let me know in the comments if you also felt that. The game also has super fast traveling, amazing new villains, and fresh boss fight layouts, except for the rushing later with Kraven and Venom, which I honestly think Insomniac should have done better. Side missions like Sand Crystals, Hunter bases, Symbiote bases, the Flame, collectibles, and Prowler missions are amazing. The game also has amazing cinematic scenes, to the point where I genuinely think Yuri, no, not the character, should have won an award for his amazing performance. Everyone in the cast except for Miles' voice actor put up an amazing performance. And I think it wouldn't be fair if I couldn't say this in the video. But they all deserve awards for how they performed. However, for Miles' case, I think he could have put the emotional act he did in the first game more into this one. Insomniac sort of forced him into our game. Forced him to be Spidey's Robin, when it just didn't work out the same way. It felt like they were forcing him to be Spider-Man and Peter to be Robin, but then they made the story the other way around, if you kind of understand what I mean. It also feels as though Insomniac was focused on making a movie rather than a gaming masterpiece, and it definitely showed with the rushing of Kraven's death, Miles being emotionless, sudden growth of strength for Venom. I mean, this guy goes from just a regular symbiote in Peter to wing Venom. This is an insane growth of power that we never actually saw in the comics until a little later. and the rushing of the entire game into a movie instead of a standard AAA game runtime was terrible decision as well.
Haley, hi.
I hope the next game, the last
Hope
one,
you're hungry.
either takes its time or learns on the mistakes of this one and
It's almost
focuses
ready.
on creating great experiences all around instead of most of the game. See, this game was broken down into 3 acts for me. The first act being until we get the symbiote. The second act when we get the symbiote to the point where we lose it. And the third act, the final act. For me, the first act was amazing. It worked. It was perfect lead up to the second act, which was straight peak. It was beautiful. And that itself could have been a conclusion, and I would have loved it. But the third act, that was hideous. It was terrible. It was rushed. It was repetitive. They finished off Craven like he was just a doll, but he really wasn't. He was such a good villain, and I felt like if he was not going to be the main guy, then don't show him for 30 out of the 36 hours I spent on the game. That's the next issue. Why is a $90 game 30 hours? They could have spread out scenes. They could have gave us more to do, more boss fights, more villains. Made the game more worth it. More like other games. Other PlayStation games, in fact. Look at God of War Ragnarok, Ghost of Tsushima, which is my next video coming out. They are all beautifully built on runtime and perfectly set for good scenes back to back to back. Good events, good lead up, good scene board, if you know what I'm saying. For this reason, I would always suggest anyone that watches this video to go try this game out for themselves because it is good. It's amazing, in fact. I love this game because as a Spidey fan, this is the best Spider-Man game we will ever get. But it's not worth the full price compared to other games. Thanks for watching.